Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to be revealing my investment plan for 2022, how my results have been in 2021, and what you guys can do to prepare for 2022 if you're a new or an experienced investor. So grab a drink, sit back, relax, and let's do some planning together. So first, let's get into a recap of my portfolio breakdown this year. My breakdown is as follows. I have 26% sitting in cash, 38.69% in stocks, and then I have about 6% of my total in crypto. And then the remainder is in my two business accounts, 23.5% in my YouTube business account and 5.54% in my poster business account. So since my stock portfolio accounts for the largest percentage of my total net worth, let's talk about that one first. So currently I'm invested in over 24 different holdings and the portfolio is up around 20%. Now 20% isn't all that impressive, but this portfolio was up around 40% this year, but almost half of that gain came from a couple of GameStop trades back in January during the short squeeze. If we remove that outlier, my portfolio is up around 20%, which I thought was pretty good until I realized that the S&P 500 year-to-date return is around 23%. So even though my portfolio is doing great on an absolute basis, it is still lagging the major index without my outlier trade of GameStop. So if it were any other year, I would have just been better off investing in the S&P 500 consistently every week or every month. For 2022, it's pretty unrealistic to assume that GameStop or that similar type of event would happen again. So we're going to talk about how my strategy is going to change slightly for 2022 a little bit later in this video. Now, in my stock portfolio, 30% of it is invested in ETFs, 34% is in growth stocks, and 34% is in blue chip stocks. The remainder is held in cash. This is a pretty good breakdown overall, but if you watch my video on how to build a rock solid investment portfolio on the channel, which I'll link right here and in the description below, I would much rather have a slightly modified allocation for 2022. The next biggest category that I hold right now is cash at 26%, and you might be wondering, Humphrey, why do you have so much cash? And it's a valid question because with inflation metrics coming in at around 6.8% year over year last month, having over a quarter of my money in cash is probably not the best approach. However, you may also notice that I do not have any real estate in my portfolio and that I'm recording this from home. So it's my goal in 2022 to either acquire a piece of real estate or move out from my home, which means that I should have at least some cash on hand to do so. In addition, I like having cash on hand because it allows me to capitalize on any type of buying opportunity that I might see in the traditional stock market or the crypto market. Now, speaking of crypto, I have about 6% of my assets in the crypto portfolio, which has been performing rather flat lately, but most of my gains there also came from buying Ethereum in March of 2020 and selling it in the middle of this year. So I don't have that much in crypto overall, but if you break down just my investments a little bit further, that means of my invested assets, I have 86.5% in the traditional market and 13.5% of my invested assets in crypto. Now, again, this seems to be pretty healthy based on my long-term investing plan. So that plan, by the way, guys, is to invest consistently over a long period of time with the least amount of emotional heartache as possible. So I'm basically trying not to overcommit to crypto for my own sanity in 2022. By the way, if you'd like to see everything I invest in, that will be in my Patreon, so make sure to check that out in the description below as well. The remainder of my portfolio will be in my business accounts, and the first business account is for my YouTube channel, as I said earlier, with 23.5% sitting in cash. This is the money that I'm going to use in 2022 to build out better content, buy more equipment, perhaps make some hires, and much more. The other business account is for my poster business called Map Your Night. I know that we don't really talk about the poster business on this channel, but essentially it's an e-commerce store that runs mostly on its own. It usually breaks even or makes a small profit every single year. To be honest, I really haven't been focusing on Map Your Night this year, so I've just kind of left it to the side. And to me, I just kind of view that as cash that maybe one day I can pull out of it and perhaps invest elsewhere as well. So overall, my results in the investing world in 2021 have been pretty solid. My portfolio grew by over 90% since the start of 2021. Due to my normal stock portfolio and my crypto gains, most notably coming from just a few trades, GameStop, and I also took a lot of profits on Ethereum. So what do I expect to do for 2022? So in 2022, I personally want to start the regular habit of investing into the market with a dollar cost average approach. I think this will take more of the emotion out of investing, which is one of the downfalls of many investors, myself included. Now, dollar cost averaging, for those of you that don't know, is the practice of investing a set amount of money spaced out at regular intervals, regardless regardless of the price of the asset. I think we all know that investing consistently is the key to long-term financial success, but even I have trouble actually committing to it. So in 2022, I plan to change that starting on January 1st, and my goal will be to invest around $500 every single month into the S&P 500. Also, I want to do a little quick word of warning here. The stock market has done extremely well since the pandemic crash of March of 2020, and I think it's important to stay humble during this time, especially if you bought stocks and are up a considerable amount since. For example, a lot of people might have bought Tesla stock a year ago, and you could be sitting there right now with a 40% gain. Now, if it's your first year in the market, you might be kind of sitting there thinking to yourself, man, the stock market is easy. Stocks only go up. How come everybody has a tough time with this? Therefore, you start to get more and more speculative as your confidence grows, but I really think it's important to have a longer term mindset in this situation because the environment that we're finding ourselves in right now is a little bit frothy, and if you look back in history, we rarely see periods like this last forever. There's always going to be ebbs and flows in the market. Now, in terms of what sectors I plan on investing in for 2022, I probably will rotate some of my money out of my growth stocks and into more value and financial stocks. Value stocks are, for example, like Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson, companies with stable businesses that tend to do better in inflationary environments. If you don't know what P&G or Procter & Gamble is, it basically is a huge conglomerate. I mean, check out their brand list. This company owns almost every household brand under the sun, including Tide, Bounty, Crest toothpaste, Gillette, Old Spice, and much more. These are going to be goods that are in demand no matter how the market is doing, since they're inelastic goods. So companies like this are good to have and good to rotate your portfolio into. Also, with interest rates rising next year, at least 3 rate hikes are to be expected. Financial stocks tend to do better in this environment as well. When interest rates are higher, banks can make more money by taking advantage of the difference that they pay in interest to their customers versus the interest that the bank can earn by investing. Another factor I'm considering with growth stocks is that higher interest rates means that it'll actually cost more to borrow, and growth companies typically like to borrow money on the cheap side, so if they aren't borrowing as much with a little bit higher rates, perhaps their outlook isn't going to be as bullish as before. Earlier, I said that my current portfolio sits at around 34% in growth stocks, and I think for 2022, I'm going to try to reduce that down to 25%. I'm going to try to have more sitting on the sidelines in cash for opportunities or just invested in ETFs. All right, another investment plan that I plan to do in 2022 is to reinvest a lot of my income into my own businesses. I think there are a lot of advantages by doing that. The first is that I have complete control over my own destiny. So when you invest into the market, your money is just kind of sitting at the mercy of the market and how that will play out. But when it comes to investing in your own business, you have complete control, which is something that I personally enjoy. I really like the feeling that I get when I put in a lot of effort into something in terms of my time or my money, and it actually produces a product that I'm pretty proud of. The other great thing about reinvesting my earnings into a business is that hopefully I'm lowering my tax burden. My current tax rate sits at around 35% federal, and I don't know about you guys, but one of the main things I'm trying to get better at in 2022 is optimizing my strategy for taxes. So if I'm able to take the money that I make and reinvest it into my business by spending it on employees, better equipment, more freelancers, etc., I can therefore reduce my tax burden through write-offs. Also, if I'm expanding my business and reinvesting, hopefully this will produce a higher return on my capital later on in life. All right, so what should you do for 2022? Let's talk about that. If you don't have that much money to work with, let's say $500 or $1,000, then I always say that you should probably start a business or just invest in yourself. Now, the reason that is that investing in the stock market might not be the best return that you can actually get for your money. If you put your $1,000 into the market and say you perform, I don't know, amazingly, and you get 20% in a year, that would be $200 of a gain, but $200 isn't gonna change your life. A better investment, in my opinion, especially for exponential gains, is just to invest in yourself, improve your own skills so that you can make more money, or start a side hustle or business that can catapult your earnings so that you can turn that $1,000 into $5,000 or $10,000 or even $25,000. At the end of the day, a proper investment in yourself should yield more than what you can make passively invested into the market most of the time. All right, so let's say you actually want to invest your money into the market. Maybe you have a little bit more than $1,000 to invest and you don't really want to start a business. Then in that case, you'll want to identify an investment strategy that suits your personal needs and your risk tolerance. Now, none of this is financial advice, but let's say you wanted to dollar cost average into the market. That means you can set aside a certain amount of money out of your monthly income and invest it into low-cost index funds and ETFs like VTI or VOO. Make sure to do some research and figure out if this is a good option for you, but if you are a set it and forget it type of person, this is not a bad strategy to get started with. Also, if you are investing into the market, just know that it carries some risk. Stocks don't always go up as they have been going, so just remember that. If you are the type that's a little bit riskier with a longer term time horizon, you can definitely invest into more growth stocks and try to capture as much appreciation as possible. If you are doing that approach, hopefully you're trading in a Roth IRA where your earnings are growing tax-free. Now, if you guys do want to learn more about different investing strategies, I have a lot of videos on that topic on my channel that you can check out after this video as well. Another note on investing in the stock market is that capital typically scales really well. Let's say you make 10% on your investment in a year. If you only have $1,000 invested, that's a $100 gain, so it's a pretty small gain on an absolute basis. But if you had $100,000 invested, that same 10% gain at this point becomes much more significant at $10,000. If you had $1 million, 10% is $100,000, and so on and so on and so on. So the goal with long-term investing is then to build up enough capital where the gains start to really compound on each other year over year. So maybe in 2022, that's what you're aiming for, trying to build as big of a nest egg as possible to invest. Either way, make a goal for yourself in 2022. And if you're feeling really spicy, share with me in the comments below what your goals are. I would love to hear them. If you'd like to learn how to build a really rock solid investment portfolio for 2022, I'm going to leave my video to that right here, hopefully in this area. And basically it's a really good crash course on how to get started on structuring a portfolio. So thank you for being here. I hope you check that video out and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.